Okay, I think we are now live. Just making sure we are in. Okay. Does someone give me just a heads up from the audience, from the community that we're in? Okay, yeah, I think looks like we're live now. Okay, just want to say a huge welcome to everybody, L1X community, everyone joining the live today. What we're going to be covering today, just to kind of give you a bit of an overview, we're going to be going through experts completion updates, where we're at with that. We'll be talking about the launch date. We'll also be talking about what we've been up to in terms of protocol side. We'll also be talking about marketing and outreach, and also projects as well. So in those 4 different things we're going to be covering today, so everyone's up to date. Just wanted to say a huge welcome. Great to see some familiar names here in the community that have joined. So welcome everybody. So firstly, just to give everyone, to start off with an update around experts completion and launch date as well. So currently in terms of percentage completion with experts, we're just over the 59%. We started off really well. So we had, we were doing an average of maybe approximately 5% a day. We got all the low-hanging fruit through, and now we've seen quite a slowdown in terms of the progress of getting people through. Probably a little bit slower than we hoped. But what we plan to do is next Tuesday we will be meeting, and we will be reviewing experts' progress on next week when we meet on Tuesday. From there, we'll be able to review the progress, and then we'll make a decision on the launch date from there. So next Tuesday we'll be meeting, and then Wednesday or Thursday we'll be announcing when we will go out with that launch date. What we'll do is once we see the progress from experts on Tuesday, that'll give us a good idea of how we're going to track, so we can define that launch date. Once we've defined that launch date as well, we will then work with the CEXs that we already have confirmed, which are MEXC, Bitmart, so they can align their listing dates with that launch date that we have, so we can do it all at the same time. So bear with us. We are getting very, very close, probably a little bit slower than we hoped, but by next Tuesday we'll meet, we'll define that date, and then Wednesday or Thursday we'll be announcing that date from there. And then once we've got that date, we'll also be working with the existing centralized exchanges to line their listing dates up with the date that we choose to launch. So that's basically an update with experts. It has been just a bit of a shout out to the dev team, Lionel and some of the guys that have been working through the tickets and getting people through, and helping support people through that. It's been a big task, but Lionel's taken it on and has been working through those tickets really quickly. So big shout out to those guys that have been supporting that as well. But yeah, I thought we'd start with that's an update on experts. We'll have a much more definitive launch date for you next week after we meet on Tuesday. But progress is getting there, but hopefully we can get some more progress between now and Tuesday. We also want to go through maybe a bit of next, we want to go for a bit of an update on the marketing and outreach. And Cody, I think you want to maybe have a little chat about that, what we've been doing, and then also launch plan as well. I can talk about that.
For sure. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight during this AMA. We definitely appreciate you guys' support and tuning in for sure. So just wanted to kind of cover a couple of different things. We as a team definitely dive into a lot of the comments and conversations that are happening on both X as well as Discord. And there were a couple of questions around marketing, current marketing efforts that we're doing. So I wanted to take advantage of my time on this AMA to kind of catch you guys up to speed of what we're doing. And primarily kind of specifically more on the POX phase, which has probably been the last 45, 60 days. And so, for us kind of focusing on some of the questions have been around, why aren't we focused more on like a B2C, so a business to consumer kind of approach of gathering in more people, right? And so I think it's imperative to kind of describe why we're focused on more of a B2B during the POX phase, which is business to business or business to project kind of focus. And the reason why we're doing that is, from a software perspective, yes, a lot of people, when you're onboarding new software, you definitely need tons of new users coming in. You need kind of that ecosystem to grow. However, from a layer one perspective, it is important to have user adoption, but we go at it a little bit different of a way, is because we focus on driving project adoption, because those are the ones that are going to basically bring in the users long term, as well as be able to expand a lot of the different kind of technologies that we have and expand the capabilities, be able to focus on battle testing those technologies, as well as driving major mainstream adoption as well. And so, the question kind of goes back to why focused on B2B versus B2C. And I think a good analogy here is this, like, we're not a meme coin, right? And so meme coins definitely require, for their tokenomics or their success of their ecosystem, is to it's all built around hype, and it's all built around just that constant revolving door of users coming and going. And with layer one, with L1X and layer ones in general, we do need that growth, like I mentioned, and we do need that hype, but it is around, again, focusing primarily on projects. And so for us, a lot of the efforts have been around that. And so, for an example, some of the things that you might not see happening because you're focused more on maybe B2C kind of marketing tactics of, KOLs, major YouTube influencers, just this massive drive to kind of get more users in the door. That time will come. But during this time, we're focused on, like, X Talk series. If you've tuned into that, you kind of know that that's been a great driver for us to kind of get in front of other chains, get in front of other projects, and really explain what we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have maybe had that opportunity if we were trying to just cold call them and try to explain what we do. So X Talk has been a very vital component to our marketing tactics over the last few months. And so we plan to keep that growing as well, even beyond kind of shifting focus back to a B2C kind of marketing tactic. But the other things that we've been focused on as well is direct project kind of business development outreach. So the exec team, as well as a lot of our community mods and things like that, have been reaching out to these projects to literally explain what X Talk is, what L1X is all about, our ethos of what we're trying to do as well. And so that's kind of been a secondary objective that we've been working on from a marketing standpoint as well. And then the third area is, which Mike will go over here in just a few minutes, is kind of more of the developer portal evolution, right? We've made some pretty good improvements to it. We're focused primarily on trying to build these onboarding experiences so that we can, when we do talk to these projects, it is a simple integration, step-by-step instruction documentation that makes it so that they can self-onboard themselves. And so Mike can talk a little bit more about that. But as we've been talking to these businesses, I think Machu and Mike and Kevin can all agree to this, that it's not a hard sell at all. Once you start talking about our tech and what we can do and how we can help integrate their project in with our technology to help them expand and grow their footprint and market share, it's definitely an easy sell. So we want to make sure that we're focused on developing out that developer portal and making it accessible and making it very easy for people to start integrating and self-onboarding. And so those are kind of the things that we've been focused on for the last 45 to 60 days as we've been working through this. However, once we do get this listing date kind of finalized of what Machu was just talking about, that we'll plan on evaluating next Tuesday, we're going to shift focus. And I think, as many as you know, we've got a lot of marketing kind of listing, CEX listing activities lined up specifically around this. And we've got a lot of other things that Machu can jump in and explain. But that time will be coming very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add to that, guys. So, as most of you will know, the attention span of an average crypto user is probably similar to a goldfish, right? So, if with our marketing resources, if we're going to users now without a listing date, keeping that attention up to the listing date is tough, right? So, what we want to do is the use of our resources have been focused on projects. We have out of 160 KOLs that we've already onboarded and lined up, we've only activated a third of those. We're waiting to activate the rest once we next Tuesday after we meet, and then when we announce a listing date on Wednesday or Thursday, then we know we've got a line in the sand. This is listing date. Let's work backwards from that, and it's really pump out the user-focused marketing. So we've got the KOLs, we've got publications, we've got quite a few different things lined up from that. But for now, until we get that listing date secured, the focus has been on projects, onboarding, and Kevin's going to go into a little bit more about from the infrastructure side of the developers and onboarding and toolkits, and then Mike will cover some of the progress that we've made with the projects as well. So that's where we're at in terms of marketing and outreach. You'll see us ramp up once we've got the listing date in terms of direct to user sort of marketing as well. But I thought I might hand over now. Kevin's got a lot of good stuff to go through from the protocol side. So Kevin, if you want to take us through as well from the protocol side, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. It's been a long time, I think, since we had an AMA. We've been working, and I think tomorrow we do have the demonstration where we'll help you, see how you can host your own node. But before that, one of the most important thing for us as a community and as the protocol right now is making sure that from the coming month onwards, the onboarding of projects and developers is automated, because the advantage that Layer 1X provides for projects or for developers, it's you got to be able to understand what a multi-chain project can bring to the table, right? And in order to do that, we are focusing on making sure that there are interfaces that are built between the protocol on one side and between the stakeholders on the other end. So this month, we have been working very hard to build interfaces for 4 different stakeholders. The first is the developer portal. The developer portal has been completely upgraded along with the toolkit, where the toolkit has been researched for multiple different projects out there, and we have made it 10 times more seamless in onboarding yourself as a project or as a developer. Now, what we are going to do is we have around 557 developers who have registered on the dev portal. We'll be sending them an invite probably at the mid to end of next week to come and start testing the version 1 of the new toolkit and provide updates on that. And on the other hand, we also are removing the wall between the community members and what we are actually building as a protocol. So for example, integration with Bitcoin, creating liquid staking derivatives on the Xtalk nodes. All these kind of improvements that we want to do to the protocol will be open sourced. So you'll be able to go into the dev portal. You will not need to sign up or sign in if you want to see what all updates are coming through. And this will be in detail. So each and every specification of the technology will be provided in detail. Now, in the dev portal itself, we will also be giving out certain project templates that you can start building with. And previously, when we saw that it takes around 30 minutes to probably set up your environment, probably a few hours. Now, the benchmark was we reached out to probably more than 40 to 50 developers, where we created the scope of the new toolkit structure. And we've got a good feedback from these developers who build on a daily basis with Web3. and we have integrated those feedback into the new toolkit. So I believe that this is going to be very helpful in our growth plan. Now, before I go to the other three interfaces, of course, tomorrow I'll talk more about this. But if you look at the daily active users in Web3, which is around 7 million, daily active users, each and every layer one is focused on, bringing users and projects to themselves. There is not a lot of money and grant available in cross-chain or in multi-chain. So if you go and try to see available, developer grants or project grants to go multi-chain, there are not a lot of grants available. So that's one gap that we see that the projects are going to face when they come and build with us. And what we have done for that reason is we are releasing or launching an ecosystem development pool where 50 million coins will be going from the developer pool and 50 million coins will be going from my own pool over the next 36 months. The way we are dividing this is in two different stages. So the stage one is going to focus on onboarding 8 required projects in the next 6 months and helping them get customers or get users. These 8 projects include DeFi, marketplaces, Launchpad, multiple different ones. And Chief will already go through. We have already partnered up with someone to launch a certain amount of projects. But this growth plan allows us to focus on the users that we had, which was 1 million monthly active users, 20 active projects, 5 billion transactions for the whole year. And this ecosystem pool will also allow us to onboard developers where in the dev portal, we will be releasing a bootcamp course that allows every developer to become a multi-chain developer. So if you go to Udemy right now, you go to Coursera, you go to DAP University, The University, Web3 schools, YouTube videos, there are no videos or no coursework that shows you how to build a multi-chain application through a coursework. So that's what we are focusing upon. So that's the gap we have identified and we are focusing upon. Coming to the other interfaces, we have the node panel. So, the node hosting providers will have their own panel where people can go and see the guide document. They will also be able to go and check the reward distribution. We also have a project panel. So all the projects that want to come and build with us, one good thing that has happened is that all these projects have lined up. So we have an archive or a backlog of projects that can start using the toolkit. Now, these projects, which we already have the information for, they can directly go to the dev portal and they will start building. But for the new pipeline of projects that want to come and build with us, this project panel is going to help them choose the right technology and also give them enough information about the ecosystem development pool. What happens over here is, if you look at the incentive to the revenue ratio of multiple layer ones, for example, let's take example of Polkadot. Polkadot generated around $100,000 in fees, in the last month. They spent over $90 million to get that. So the incentive to the revenue ratio is crazy. Now, our focus should be on the average transaction fees that we can collect from each and every user, right? And this is important because without having this fundamental in place, no matter how hard you try to hit something, the health of it can be in terms of the price of the coin, it can be in terms of the adoption of the protocol, it's not going to last. So, and if it's not going to last, the other set of people that have to come into the protocol after us, they will not be, remunerated enough to come in. So we need to make sure that the average transaction fee, the incentive, the revenue ratios are predefined initially and processed or progressed in that perspective. The other update or the interface is for the users, is for developers, and it's for node hosting providers together, which is divided again into two different parts. One is the wallet profiler. So basically everyone will be able to go in and connect your X wallet to the wallet profiler and check all your balances on the protocol. and the other one is the core profiler. So we are updating the L1X Explorer, where you will be able to go and see validators' addresses, the blocks that they will create, the X score of the validator, the transactions within the blocks, the types of transactions that are happening on the full validator nodes. This is for the full validator. And also then there will be a core profiler for the Xstock infrastructure that's going to show you how many transactions are being processed across the chains, right? So when you add up the ability for getting your developer SDK toolkit along with the project panel, then you have the node operating panel and the profiling panel. These four things act as the fundamental interface for which in the coming time, when the projects want to come on board, they have enough resources to see or to enable transparency, but at the same time come and build with us as well. By the end of the month, we will be releasing the open sourcing the virtual machine code. So the VM code and the toolkit, all the code will be open sourced. So you'll be able to see that code over there as well. The most important thing right now, I think for us, is making sure that the interfaces are correctly functioning so that other projects can come and build with us. That's where we will get those transaction volume. The health of the protocol can improvise. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the node operators that are going to actually start hosting the node from the end of this month onwards, there is no, the fundamental of the technology in terms of exchanging information between the nodes, transactions per second, all these metrics are kept up to a stance that it has to for the sustenance, right? So a lot of resources will be spent in making sure that the network is stable as well. And more importantly, the improvement proposal standard, where we want to delegate as much as possible, to the open source developers as well. So these improvement protocols will help us get in front of these developers who can come and build with us as well. So we will be releasing a stewardship program where they will be remunerated in L1X coins for the work they do. But again, it will be according to a hierarchy that they have to, work towards. In the coming month, we have 2 to 3 projects lined up ready for release, but just touching a little bit upon L1X app, the direction of L1X app that we want to take is distributing the workload of L1X app to various, stakeholders. And what I mean by that is the base or the core of Layer 1X is focusing on Xstock and its infrastructure, the core. So in terms of L1X app, we are speaking with Omchain, and Omchain supposedly would become the tech provider for L1X app, where we have actually narrowed down a strategy to commercialize the 15 million users that they have onto L1X app, and then being able to provide businesses or projects the ability to use these user base for their projects or to commercialize these user base for their projects. Because you need to have users, tech, and money. We have the tech, right? Omchain can bring in the users. When we add both of these things, there is a high probability that when the coin does become tradable, or when the release of the coins does increase in the coming months, there is enough consumption of those coins as well. It is very easy to go and release a coin. You don't even need a white paper to actually release a token, right? And I think the most important thing for us is making sure that the technology that we have built can actually be demonstrated to the projects and the developers. And that is why this interface becomes very important. And the gradual growth of it that we will see will actually enable us to show that, we are not here to take a small pump and exit. We are here to actually make sure that this becomes, a form of security in the future, where, what is the alternative of Bitcoin on multi-chain? Something like that. It becomes that, because without having the ability to come and build with us, we would need a backlog of VCs to pump up the price of the coin. And the problem is when VCs pump up the price of the coin, they make the money, community members don't make it. That's why they increase the price, right? They are in the business of making money for themselves, not for the community members. But over here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to commercialize and maximize whatever partnerships we have to bring the users on board to increase the transaction and the adoption of the protocol. So it can be a little slow process, and it is okay, it's a slow process, but at least we know that the tech works. We have demonstrated the technology works. Some projects, they don't even have tech. Over here, the tech works, and we are gradually building out so that when the coin goes out, we are not in the rat race of marketing and trying to pump up the price. At least the utility will help us to a major extent in increasing the health of the protocol.
Yeah, 100%. I'll just add to that as well. Like, and for those people who've been in the community for a long time, you already know L1X is a utility coin, right? And so it derives its value from its utility. The more utility, or the higher the quality of the utility and usage of use cases for the coin, that will drive the value. So there's also a couple of other benefits to that. By onboarding projects that bring utility to the coin and to the ecosystem, you're also onboarding other marketing arms, because when these projects market to their own community, to grow their own community base, to bring in users onto their application, indirectly they're already marketing L1X. So by onboarding these projects onto the system, we're not only growing utility, we're also growing the community on L1X, because these projects are marketing out for people to come use the application that is built on us. So it really compounds the marketing effect by bringing on projects as well. And yeah, might segue now into Chief. I want to give us the update on the projects.
Indeed, yes. Thanks for the updates there, Kevin and Matthew. And Cody. That's really, really good. But I think Kevin really hit on a very, very important point that is probably it's probably the most important point for L1X, and that is around sustainability and adoption. We can sit there and hype like a meme coin, and there's a lot of them out there, but really, what is their substance? What's behind them? And when you look at it, there really isn't a lot. What we're doing, what we're focusing on is really around that, as Cody said, that B2C initial focus on onboarding the right projects, finding those right projects, the ones that are actually going to give us the transactions, the sustainability, and the ability to grow. And Kevin and the team have been working, to say tirelessly is probably an understatement. I think Kevin at some point is going to need a very, very long sleep to recharge. That's for sure. But and I think the same for all of us. But the projects that we've got going on at the moment, obviously we've got all sorts around the real world assets. So we've got the likes of Red Curry, we've got Diga Labs, and we've got OnChain. And OnChain have actually, we've been doing a lot of work with them recently around what components that their skill set is going to allow us to grow. Not just the digital identity, but all those other capabilities, and to take on things like the L1X, the app and the wallet. That's pretty exciting, because their skill set is absolutely amazing. When we're talking with them on the calls and going through it, just their level of excitement around what they can do is quite amazing. We've got other projects coming up as well, around computational and storage, obviously NFTs and collectibles. And there's another really interesting one which we're percolating a little bit at the moment, is about bringing those off-chain companies into crypto and providing those cloud services, AI functionality, ERP, which is enterprise resource planning, for those that don't know, document creation, storage, video conferencing, aggregation of social media. They're all components that we've spoken about previously. And to be able to link those projects up together is absolutely key. Imagine we've got one project which does computational and storage, with another one that focuses on those off-chain companies. And what do I mean by off-chain companies? I'm talking about the traditional businesses out there. And this one in particular is focusing on the billion-dollar corporations throughout the US and Europe. And we're going to be pushing that one a little bit further. Then we've got things like the DEXs, and they're pretty, we've got L1X there. They'll be building and doing their work soon. But we've got a lot of others that are coming on in the DeFi space that really want to join up. When we get on calls now, it's not a matter of about us convincing them. They've already heard of us, these projects. So, we might get comments out there in the community. Oh, there's people out there, these shillers and influencers that probably haven't heard of us and not talking. It's more so that we're focusing on getting the name of L1X out there for the projects, because they have the real users. They've got the people that are out there wanting to use it. And when we start linking back into things like the Web2 companies or what are currently off chain, imagine taking a brand name, a global brand name, and tokenizing that product. That's where some of our focus is. We've got another project that we've been talking to around Web3 in the sports and entertainment area. The user base there is in the millions. The one that's focusing on the off-chain, they're talking in the tens and hundreds of millions of users across all their various products. But that's not the only thing. We're also focusing on other areas. The list of the areas that we're looking at encompass everything from advertising all the way through to as we've spoken about, the DeFi. But also one other thing that we're doing is we've got another partner which we're not saying the name of them just yet. But to say they're huge is an understatement. They measure the projects they've got access to in the tens of thousands, and that's pretty exciting. Their capabilities and the introductions they've already made with us have been phenomenal. The talks that the team, Matthew, Cody, myself, and Kevin, that we have with these guys has been pretty phenomenal. They're actually over in Dubai at the moment, getting flooded out. But they've met up with a couple of our team over there, and that's been really, really exciting to hear. And what we're also doing there is we're also talking with them about what chains are we going to connect next. And that's something that's there's a lot of conjecture out there in the community around that. Yes, as Kevin mentioned before, Bitcoin, it's pretty much a given, but we've got others coming along, and I'm not saying which ones we're doing. What I'm saying is I'm going to cherry pick a couple out of the list just to give you a little bit of hype. We may choose these, we may not. And they could be things like everything from Blast or Metis or Base or Carver or Monad, Compound. There's just a couple that are on the list, and there's probably about 40 odd that we're looking at. Let's see where we go from here. But all I can say is I'm pretty excited, and that the calls that we get on now with these projects, it's not a matter of, oh, should we link across and connect up with L1X? Should we use capabilities? It's a case of we're discussing when we can onboard them, when Kevin and the dev team will have that have the time available. But to answer that, that's where the dev portal itself comes in, and that's probably one of our most important tools. How we can actually provide those projects with the ability to self-onboard. That's absolutely crucial. We can't onboard 10,000 projects. There simply isn't enough hours in the day. It would take thousands of developers and a lot of money to be able to do that. So being able to self-onboard them is absolutely crucial. It'll take the load off Kevin to enable him to focus on the core protocol and the development around the cross-chain capabilities, those other chains, and expanding the network. Our focus is on the infrastructure. We onboard those projects and we let them run with what they do best. And back to you, Matthew.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mike. Thanks, guys. I think we can maybe just reach in to see if there's any questions in the community. But just to kind of give, for anyone who's just come in maybe halfway through, to give you a bit of an overview. So we started off just updating experts, a little bit over 59% completion. We have, we'll be getting together as a team on next Tuesday to have a look at the progress of experts. From that progress, then we will look to define a launch date. We will announce that launch date either Wednesday or Thursday next week. We will then, once we've announced the launch date, we will then look to align the CEXs that we already have with that, to align their listing date with that launch date, so we can do that all together. So stay tuned to next week when we can announce that officially, that launch date. And then we're talking about, so the focus so far has been predominantly on outreaching to B2B. We're looking to do that first because the value, basically, L1X being a utility coin, it derives its value from utility, more applications, more utility. And so we're focusing on that. This is an ecosystem, and the quality of the ecosystem will determine the value of the coin itself. And then, we moved into some of the technical stuff and the protocol stuff that Kevin and the team are building in the background, infrastructure stuff that allows developers to come in, portals, toolkits, developer documents, so they can come in and they can onboard easily into this ecosystem. Mike's been talking to quite a few different, we all have actually, but Mike's just given us an update on quite a few different projects that we've been talking to. It's not a hard sell because of the technology. And so once we get these projects through this process of analyzing the projects, allowing them to access developer toolkits, then they can start onboarding as well. And we'll be looking to onboard some quality projects all the way through. As we continue through this year, more and more projects will be onboarding, self-onboarding, or coming through, a potential grant system through the ecosystem pool. There will be more, and I've noticed some questions around node hosting. Kevin is hosting an AMA around the node hosting tomorrow. So what we've decided to do is update everything from the protocol side, excluding the node hosting. Kevin will go in a bit more detail on node hosting itself and go through on that to make that specifically about node hosting, which will be tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow, Friday. Kevin, do you remember what time that AMA is on? Is it 4 p.m. Western?
4 p.m. So. AWST, yeah.
AWST, so I think that's 8 a.m. UTC, guys, when we're looking at the time zones there. So make sure you tune into that for the nodes. Other than that, and then we're also talking about, Mike also mentioned this as well, the addition of adding more chains. So you'll see us going through with now finalizing a list of chains that we really want to kind of focus on first to add next. Obviously, Bitcoin's on the list, but there's other chains as well that can, get us some more traction for the tech. Cody or anyone, I might just get you guys to have a look through to see if there's any questions in the community. If you do have any questions, let's see if we can drop them in the chat now. Let's have a look if I can find any here. Oh, yes, great. Thank you, Starlord. So dates for the big airdrop winners. So we're going to announce the big airdrop winners today. However, what we've decided to do, just to kind of add a little bit of excitement and hype to the launch date, I believe all the daily winners, you can see that on the L1X app for the current airdrop campaign. But what we'll be doing on the launch day listing date, we'll be announcing those winners on the AMA of that date as well. So we'll be doing, we've got the randomizer out, we'll be selecting them live, and those winners will be notified in the AMA on the launch date to add a little bit more hype to that AMA as well. But just to kind of cover off on that, we've got a few different winners. We've got one winner of 250K L1X coins. We've got another winner of 200K. We've got another winner of 50K L1X coins. So in those big prizes, we've got about 500K worth of L1X coins we're giving out, and also all the daily winners as well that have already been identified on the L1X app.
I got a question here for you.
Yep.
This is from Albita. When L1X launches, can anyone create a product in our protocol, or do these projects have to meet certain requirements, like going to an analysis before they can join the L1X chain?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so it's going to be open sourced, so anyone can come and build with us. However, with the ecosystem pool that we are offering to these projects, the way it's going to work is it's going to be a loyalty system. So the users and the projects both have to be registered on the protocol, because these projects have to fall under the required category. So if you go and build a meme coin, meme coin is not a utility, so it does not fall under the required category. So you may not be able to get the ecosystem development pool. While I am on that, I think I just wanted to address one more thing. So I'm not going to give you the name, but when you talk about these kind of project onboarding, what we are also trying to do is, with the marketing side of things, we got to be a little bit tactical. So there is a company that offers analysis of staking rewards. I'm not going to tell you which company it is, but they've got around 500,000 monthly active users. And the kind of deal that we are trying to do is I mean, of course, we are in the last stages, not paying a single dollar, giving one full validator node and getting advertising spot on the top of the page, and integrating the ability of node. So people who are going to host nodes, they will also get other people swapping into L1X and staking with you, right? And also liquid staking derivatives when the Xtalk node will have that feature. So getting access like from a honeypot where users are going for that purpose and then coming on to this particular infrastructure, I think that's a better way to get return on the money that you guys have put in, the hard-earned money, right? It's very easy for me to go and spend if I have to spend on marketing, right? But you got to be a little tactical, because that money has to last us for a longer time, so we can keep pushing this until every stage. So these are the kind of strategies, but at the same time, we are also offering them to build a widget on L1X app, because they are only showing the rewards. They are not actually allowing you to stake, right? So having the ability of building a widget on L1X app covers up two angles, showing the rewards and also allowing them to build a tech around staking. So these are the kind of marketing strategies that we are after. We are not, it is 100% required. Like, you need YouTube influencers, you need, newsletters, articles and publications posting about it. But also understand that we are, we are just getting in there. Like, and if we spend all our resources towards that at this stage, then we will be out of money after a few months.
Yeah, and I think that's the question as well from G-Man. G-Man, so Machu, when you mentioned that you were...
Machu, before you jump into that, can I just add to that as well? To follow up with what Kevin's talking about, I mean, this is one thing that Mike and I are kind of working on, are being able to create these like onboarding stories of, people that want to do certain things. You as community members and investors in L1X can also share these links out with the projects that you might be participating in that are outside of L1X. It might be a great meme coin project that you're in, or it might be a real world asset project that you're in. We want to provide these kind of links so that you can promote those as well and help drive that same adoption that we're looking for as well. So.
Yeah, and so another question from G-Man about listing dates. Basically, don't the centralized exchanges tell us the listing dates rather than we tell them? So the scenario that I'm talking about is that, let's say we meet on Tuesday, we've got some more progress going through Xworks, and we say, okay, whether there's 70% or not, and this is just pulling a date out of a hat, but let's say there's whether there's 70% or not by this particular date, we will launch on the 30th of April, for example. So that might be a decision. Now the CEXs may come to us and say, yeah, we can list you on the 22nd, we can list you on the 24th. And so for us, what we would then go back to the CEX is to say, can we move that listing date to the 30th, for example? That's just a hypothetical, but that's where we would work with the CEXs if they want to list prior to us really kind of, prior to us defining a launch date, so we know at least we've given plenty of chance for us to get to that 70%. Even if we do or we don't get to the 70%, at least we've given enough time frame for that to happen. So we may be moving the CEXs later to move that launch date. That's where that scenario might play out, that we go back to the CEXs to move that. So that's the situation I was talking about. That may not be the case. They may just list the same day and we won't have to move anything, but that would be the scenario where that would take place.
And this is only this kind of strategy of coordinating everything to happen all on one day is for some strategic things that we're doing in the background as well. But just so that you guys are aware as well, we have a second wave of CEXs and DEXs that we're working with that will come online. And as they come online, they'll just get launched. It's not like we're waiting for another coordination date for a second wave to go live. So we're already working with the second wave and third wave. So just so that you understand, that's where we're coming from there.
Cool. Will anyone be consensus this year? No, not this year. We won't be attending consensus this year. The focus for us over the next few months is to build this ecosystem. That's the key, right? To focus on making sure that we're talking to projects, everyone's reaching, making sure that they're onboarding is really the focus for us, is building that ecosystem out and making sure that we've got that right before we look to do anything else.
Here's a good question. If expert vesting affects how tokenomics are set up as a total supply, does this mean the tokenomics will have to be changed or worked on again if people aren't vested into experts?
No, basically with the tokenomics, that still remains the same. If those people that haven't gone into experts by the time we actually do launch, they'll still have to go through experts. So that supply is still in the market. It'll just be up to them on when they choose to go through experts. Obviously, when they go through experts, that'll determine when they vest. So 3 months from that point, or if they're private seed or they're opting into experts. If they're opting out of experts, then it'll also be determined by when they opt out as well. So people will still need to go through experts even after we've launched. What we're trying to do is at least get the majority of people through experts, so it's a fair distribution right at the beginning when the vesting starts. We're just conscious of giving enough time for that, but also not taking too much time so we can actually get the vesting started. So that's where our conversation next Tuesday will happen. We'll meet, and then Wednesday or Thursday we can announce something solid in terms of the launch date and the vesting commence. Heaven, what would the team say are some of the positives that have come from the delay of launch? I can speak to that, I suppose. From my experience, some of the positives that have come out has been the project interaction. Really identifying the interest from different projects. I also think, Kevin and the dev team have really done a great job in taking the feedback on, going through this feedback process with 40 plus devs on that onboarding process, and that's been really valuable in terms of updating and refining that onboarding. So from my personal experience, that's probably the couple of standouts for me.
And I think from me too, giving us Kevin and the team a little bit of time to focus on the developer portal. It's a fairly exclusive system that's actually designed for the developers on L1X, enabling us to nurture and grow their capabilities and their skills, enabling us to actually look at the various projects. To bring in things like we've got this new partner and some of the categories that they cover off, and these are categories, not specific projects. Within these, there could be hundreds of thousands of projects across DeFi, indexes, gaming, NFTs, infrastructure, tooling, the marketplaces, so NFT marketplaces and launchpads, lending and borrowing, yields, metaverses, NFT projects, DAOs, and there's a pretty interesting one we're doing with our partner with OnChain, which is going to incorporate a DAO, AI, exchanges, social media, the collectibles, the wallets. We've got some interesting things that we're working on with on the wallet side that should be doing with OnChain. Education, and even I mentioned earlier the advertising. So it's about the breadth of capability that we're looking to add. And some of the delays might be frustrating for some of our users. I get that. I think we all get that. It is for us too. But really, you want to make sure that when you go out there with a launch, that it's not hype. It's about reality and capability. It's about how we sustain it. I mentioned that before. That adoption, and that's the crucial thing for the success that will actually give us that global adoption.
Yeah. Just on that, right? Like, if all the community members, right, like, ask only one question to yourself, which is, if there was one thing that we could actually talk about L1X, what would it be? It's the technology. So the white paper that I wrote in 2021 and today, that IP of the technology is the same. It's not any partnership. It's not any person. It's still centered around the technology. Now, moving forward, right? The technology is still taking the burden of the whole protocol to onboard people, right? So we are not in the space where here's $200,000, come and build. Here's $1 million, come and build. The technology is trying to take that load, right? And in order for us to make sure that this thing can take the load and it doesn't break down, we need to make sure that it is rock solid. So I would say that now that the toolkit infrastructure, which is one of the things that's very important to build with us, is built with feedback mechanisms in place, at least it will help in offloading some work from the core, right? At least let's talk about how seamless it is to build a multi-chain application rather than why build a multi-chain application. So I think that's where the narrative of onboarding projects can also be focused upon, and letting them build quick. And I wouldn't say you can never make up for your time. There is no such thing. But what I would say is the vision of onboarding 1 million users, monthly active users, 20 active projects, and 5 billion transactions in 12 months, I think at least we are moving in that direction.
And then another question from Kim is just around Interact, right? What's happening with the Interact, guys? So with Interact, sorting through if you've got any issues with Interact records or point systems, raise that with Interact. Interact will be handling that directly. If we get, basically, we're currently going off the numbers that Interact have provided to us. And if Interact provide us any updates on those numbers, once they sort through any of those resolutions, once they've provided us an update, then we can update our end. But at the moment, basically, whatever Interact gives to us, that's what we take as the data, because we don't control that side. So if there's anything with Interact airdrop, please raise it with them so they can go ahead and try and resolve that. Once they've resolved those issues, they can give us an update if there's any updates for us to update our end as well on the airdrop. Cool. I think that's pretty much covered everything, guys, for most of the stuff that we've got in there. Look, once again, massive thank you to the community. If you've just jumped in now, please go ahead. I'm sure the community guys will share the recording out. We'll get someone onto that for you as well. Stay tuned. So there's a lot coming up. First thing is tomorrow, Kevin's going to go through the AMA of node hosting as well, which will be great. That'll give you a really good understanding of node hosting and the systems and structures in place, how you can do that. That's at 4 p.m. Western Australian time, which I believe is 8 a.m. UTC. So look out for that. I believe the link is already in the Discord or on our socials, so jump on and join that as well. And then next Tuesday, as I mentioned, we'll be meeting, and then Wednesday, Thursday, we'll be announcing that launch date as well. So stay tuned.
Sorry. There is just one question I would like to take, which is a good question, which is, it says, can we get the 1 million user base within a year of launch, given current projects in the pipeline and future projects? To give you perspective on what that 1 million monthly active users mean, it would be, so if there are 5 layer 2s available in the market today, it can be Base, Polygon, right? And if you go to the 50th percentile of that layer 2's capacity, that's the 1 million monthly active user base that we are looking at. And if you break those numbers down, it comes to around 1,650 active users per day per project, right? So if you got to have 1,650 active users, and if the project can have, let's say, 20,000 users, and even if you take a percentage of, I think, let's say less than 5%, you would still get those numbers. But for us, what is important is getting those 8 great projects onboarded and pushing them to create a loyalty system around the users interacting with us, so that the 1,650 active users per day, or 10 to 12 transactions per day by these users would be required. So you could span those 10 to 12 transactions around gaming, DeFi, healthcare, multiple different places. So I don't think getting more than like getting at least 10 transaction with an active user is hard, because I mean, it's definitely hard, but what I'm saying is the numbers are not a fairy tale numbers. These numbers are possible in the Web3 space even today. So in the next 12 months, when the adoption grows, the active users in a whole increases, we should get a good chunk of that pie.
And just to add to that, guys, we've got some really, really exciting key partnerships, right? OnChain being one of them. I mean, these guys already have, they've onboarding, I think it's already 2.5 million already onto their system. And by working with a key partner like OnChain to try and help commercialize those users and bring those users into a crypto environment with DeFi gaming, we are the solution for those users. So by working directly with OnChain to build up an environment where they can directly onboard those users into a blockchain ecosystem, providing DeFi gaming and all these other solutions, and where we are that hub for that, just that particular partnership can onboard those million users, just that one. And so we look outside of all the other projects and all the other onboarding of projects as well. There's a lot of pathways where those 1 million will come from.
Just to add to that, you've just got to look at the levels of crypto adoption around the world. And Turkey, I think, is the 4th largest adopter of crypto, and they're sitting around the 50% mark of all the citizens in Turkey actually have hold crypto. And that, if you look at it on very simple numbers, already got 2.5 million onboarded. Half of those are crypto users, and we'll be out there working with OnChain very, very closely on how we actually onboard those fully into the L1X ecosystem and provide them with the additional abilities. They can bring their MetaMask wallet across, they can do gaming, all sorts. And that's just Turkey, let alone where we're approaching other countries and chains with the OnChain and L1X combined capabilities.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Look, appreciate everyone's time. We're coming up to the hour now, but look, thank you everybody for attending. It's great here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Cody. Thank you for all the community members that have turned up as well or watched the recording. Stay tuned. We've got Kevin's AMA tomorrow. We'll have some, some pretty big announcements coming out next week as well. So tune in for that. And then stay safe. Take care. If anyone is in Dubai, stay dry. And look, thank you guys for everyone, and talk soon. Cheers. Thank you.